Good afternoon, everybody, and happy birthday, America. It is the 4th of July, our Independence Day. I love this country. I am so grateful for it, for Aspen, and for everything that it has provided for me personally and for us. And it's a country that was founded in a beautiful idea, an idea that was and is yet unfulfilled. And it is that constant charge to always seek, and not just seek, but act to create a more perfect union that I love most about this nation. And so I want to take this day, this opportunity to share a big idea with you. Now, most of our big ideas here, actually all to date, have been blue sky thinking, things that are proposed for discussion. This one's different. This one is one I have been looking into for years, and one that I support unequivocally. I recognize that it has inherent risk, that it's imperfect, and that it will take time to get right. However, this is the time for Aspen to embrace it, because our democracy needs it, and we can be an example. That idea is mobile voting. Voting from the thing that I'm recording this on right now, my smartphone. Now, why is this important? And I ask that as we jump into this, if you heard that and thought, whoa, that sounds scary, that sounds insecure, that sounds unsafe, I hear you. And that was my first reaction as well. All voting must be sacred. All voting must be secure. And I have been working on this for years and believe we are in a place now where those solutions are here. So I ask that you put that skepticism to the side for America and sit back and listen with an open ear before you render judgment. So first the question is, why should we be working on voting at all? Our country, you may have noticed, is more divided, more polarized than ever before. Part of that is a consequence of our time, but a big part of that is a result of our system. A system that rewards the representation of only those at the extremes. Representative democracy works, but it only works insofar as it represents those whose voting power matters. And in our country, that's the 10% of people that show up for primary elections. And the rest of us electorally, frankly, are irrelevant. So what we get is people on the extremes, people who are ideological, people who do not listen or learn from one another, and people who would rather win than do good things for this country. That has to stop. If that does not stop, our country may. And so I believe it is our responsibility, my responsibility, to work on that every day. And the single most important thing, as cliche as it sounds, that we can do is vote. Why? Because if 100% of people voted in primaries, in local elections, and general elections, that math changes. And our representatives can no longer speak to and represent only the 10%. They have to represent all of us. And when they do, we will feel more included, more heard, have more agency, and be more willing to get involved. And we create a virtuous circle to rebuild our country. So 100% voter participation needs to be the goal. So now, we're trying to get there. Why mobile voting? And why in Aspen should we be pushing this right now? First and foremost, mobile voting, or voting from one's mobile phone device, has been going on for years. There have been millions of mobile votes cast across the country, and there have been many places, including the state of Colorado and Denver, that have done this in multiple elections. They've tested the protocol to make sure it's safe in real live elections with limited populations. That looks like overseas military service. That looks like people with disabilities. and it looks like absentee ballots. And it has worked, and it has helped enfranchise those serving this country with their lives overseas and making it easier for them to vote. What has not yet happened is a complete election where everybody has this option. And what this option would do would be to increase voter turnout for a few reasons. First, it's simply more convenient. We live in a world where Amazon is one of the biggest companies in human history because they reduced 3 clicks to 2. We might not like that we are creatures of convenience, but we are. Every sociological experiment bears this out, from the size of the plate at the buffet to where you put the M&Ms in the office. When things are easier, we do them more readily. And being able to vote in a matter of minutes from the comfort of your living room on a device that we frankly probably are holding on to too much certainly makes it much easier. It also makes it much easier for those people who are least likely to vote and who we most want to get into the process, which is young people who are digital natives, who trust their phone more implicitly than their banker. I know, because handing cash to an ATM freaks me out, but mobile deposits do not bother me and never have. So I would say that there's a huge opportunity through convenience in young people. Mobile voting also serves to help those who have historically been most disenfranchised. People who live in communities with very few polling places. People who are afraid to go to polling places because of voter intimidation. People who have criminal records and don't know that they can vote, but can. All of these people will be disproportionately helped by a phone. When you don't have to go stand in a line for 15 hours when you're making 25 grand a year and where a police officer is going to hassle you on the way, but when you can do that from your phone that you're already on, you will raise the number of people voting. Period. Lastly, and unexpectedly, when we started considering all this, the COVID crisis means that elderly people are going to have a harder time to vote. Yes, in Aspen we have mail-in, and we should continue to have mail-in, but many people do not have mailboxes. They don't have P.O. boxes. And in the broader country, many people do not have mail-in ballots. And so an option to vote from home, not having to go in and risk your health or the spread of disease, is extra important right now. So for all of those reasons, this is important. Let's talk a bit about security, and then I want to talk about why Aspen in particular should be doing this. Security needs to be the number one concern. We are trying to expand the electorate, and it is unquestionably true that if we were to hold elections with mobile and they were to be compromised, we would take a step backwards, not forwards. And so getting it right is critically important. The first step to security is the technology that underlines the platform. Not all technology is the same, as we know. Just because it happens on your phone doesn't mean that's how it works. The mobile voting that we are talking about utilizes the most advanced encryption in the world. It's called blockchain technology. And if you've ever used technology to bank, this is the system that is so safe that every major bank in the world is currently transitioning to it for added security. So if you feel comfortable with the stock market, you can feel comfortable with this. If you're not a digital native, if you're like, what the hell is blockchain and why should I trust it and that seems scary, I get it. That's why the system that we would be talking about using has a paper backup. For you, when you vote, you can print out your own confirmation, as does the county clerk. There is a full human audit process that works just like it does for every other vote, so that we make sure every vote is counted beginning, middle, and end. The system directly integrates with the Secretary of State's system to check signatures, just like a normal ballot. It uses voter identification and ID. And unlike any other voting on the planet, it can use retinal scans as well as fingerprints to verify your vote. So while it may seem scary, it might seem different, it might seem new, it is safe. And even in a worst case scenario, a recount an audit is possible. And for those reasons, it is actually safer than in-person or mail-in voting, which, while are very safe and should be done, are always subject to Debbie the mailwoman or John the poll place tossing something casually in the garbage. That cannot happen with this. So security cannot be a barrier to implementing this. So the last and most important question: why Aspen and why now? I believe that a municipality-wide pilot in our 2021 municipal election, which means giving every eligible voter in the city of Aspen the opportunity to vote by their phone in the March 2001 city council election, is the single largest asymmetrical lever that we have at our disposal to change our country. I'll say that again. It is the single biggest asymmetrical lever we have to change our country. What do I mean by asymmetric? Asymmetric means the lowest risk for the highest reward. The risk, in the worst case scenario, is that a couple hundred people choose to vote using this mobile protocol, and something goes wrong, and we have paper backups, and a group of people that are already assembled to do an election audit go through and count those by hand. That is the worst case scenario. That happens in a matter of hours and delays election results by maybe 5 hours. That's the worst case. The best case is it goes really well. And organizations and organizers all across the country point to Aspen as an example, opening the door and saying to other major cities and even states across the country, this is safe, it has been done, you do not need to go first. The state of Denver's already piloted this twice in limited capacity. They want to go for the whole thing, but being the first politically is scary. And frankly, as a larger target, it should be scarier for them than it is for us in a municipal election. If one Houston takes this on as a result of what we do, it will fundamentally change the electorate, realign politics with the American people, and enfranchise our future. This will bring equity, opportunity, agency. How can we, at this moment in history, with everything we have been given as Aspenites, with everything we are so lucky to have worked for as Aspenites, how can we turn our backs and say, when it would be so easy to make an impact? On this July 4th, and on all July 4th forward, I'm asking for us to serve one another, to invest in our collective future, to do something big and seemingly scary, but that is actually small, relatively insignificant in the scope of things, to improve our democracy. Aspen City Council is going to be looking at this on Tuesday, July the 6th. I'm looking for your support. I'm looking for your backing. I'm also looking for your feedback and the holes you may poke, but real holes. And don't respond with fear that is unfounded, with security concerns that are unresearched. If you have something real, send it on, because we have to get this right. We have to do it, and we have to get it right. And you will be helping in that effort if you know something that we do not. That's it. That's what I got for you guys. Happy 4th of July. I have so much gratitude for this country. I have so much gratitude for you, for this community, for Aspen. I love you all, and we will get through this crisis together, and we will emerge as a more unified and more perfect union. Happy 4th of July.